Molten Core has seen a lot of changes this last week, a lot of them fixing a lot of the stupidity that made the design in the first week, and now this whole thing is looking a lot more reasonable, so let's take a look at the changes. First of all, this was probably my biggest gripe after seeing the world first race with Molten Core. Basically, the hit 3 level mechanic works that if you do not have 226 fire resistance, you are gonna die. Now the problem with it originally was that in the first week, if you went under 226 for even a snap second, you would immediately get one shot. You could see in a lot of the wipes in the attempts of the first week that, for example, I don't know, a shaman would die for whatever reason, and after a snap second happened of the shaman dying, his entire party would die because the totem ran out. Now at the core of it, it isn't that bad because at least that is avoidable. If you were to move out of the totem for just a little bit, you would also instantly die, and that was really annoying. For example, the Ragnaros knockup would sometimes get you, and if you were in position just perfectly, you would instantly die from that. Another example is the fight in Baron Geddon, where he is gonna drop circles on the ground, and those circles on the ground can actually, you have to move out of them, and you're starting to lose space over the course of the fight, and you might actually be at a point where you are gonna have to move out, and you are gonna probably be out of range of the totem for a snap second. That's why 4 days ago we finally got a fix on it. First of all, it turns out that Ragnaros was immune to taunt by paladins. Paladins could not taunt Ragnaros. That must have been so fun to find out the first week. It took him like an entire week to fix that. I feel really bad for paladins. I don't know how that could happen. Here is the one that matters though. The increased damage taken for low fire resistance in Molten Core has been reduced, but still extremely dangerous. Characters who are at 30 resistance lower than intended should now expect to take about 3 times normal damage. It was guaranteed fatal, it was a one-shot. As you can see, the justification is just that. This is intended to allow players who are dependent on resistance totems or paladin auras to have a chance to survive, if briefly not within the range of those effects. So if you walk out of the totem for a single second, you're not gonna die anymore, you're just gonna take a quadrillion damage. Which actually serves as a great warning, because you are looking at your HP bar and it goes like down, 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 you're like, oh shoot, my totem is out of range, I better move in, you know? It just makes sense, that's what it should have been the whole time. Very well, but alongside those changes there has been another change. This one is according to hit level 1. They basically nerfed the whole place to the ground. Ragnaros is only gonna submerge 1 time in hit level 1. So in original vanilla this was a DPS race and people could just DPS race it and avoid the submerging thing entirely. But they put a hard lock into I think 50%. Ragnaros is gonna submerge no matter what in SOD. I guess to kinda avoid that behavior of parse only kinda killing fast or something. I don't know. Anyway, this will only happen once on hit level 1, so that's gonna essentially change the difficulty of this raid to nothing. The only reason you die on Ragnaros is the ads kill you. That's it. Ragnaros is essentially a tank and spank. He throws like some fire damage at you. He hits not very hard if you're the tank, honestly. Like it's not a very hard to heal fight. And now we got Shadow Priest throwing healing at people very, very well. So that's also like another thing that's gonna help the melees if you're using it correctly. So yeah, getting rid of the one submerge is a huge deal. That's gonna make the fight a lot easier. They also removed the DPS check on Baron Geddon. He used to explode at 10%. Now he explodes after 5%. You gotta, I think it is a 30-second timer. I am not completely sure on that. I think it was you got 30 seconds to kill him or he explodes. Now funnily enough, if you have the fire resistance cap, you can survive that explosion, because it happened to us. Like in our first pull of Molten Core, we got like, I don't know, we were like 2 HP short of killing him before the one shot, and he exploded and I was still alive and I just killed it. I don't know, I just thought it was funny. So this could be one of those things where being on hit level 3 might make this fight easier than being on hit level 1 because people got the fire resistance. The DPS check wasn't that hard anyway, I don't think it's gonna be a big deal. They also nerfed the living bomb mechanic in Baron Geddon. That's by far the most dangerous part about Baron Geddon. He throws a living bomb on you and you gotta move out to the raid or you kill everybody, that's it. So he's gonna put it on 2 targets now instead of 3. That's 1 less point of failure, that's gonna make it a lot easier too. Also they removed the little circles that you can stand on in hit level 1 on Baron Geddon, so that's gonna make it so you don't have to move anymore. And this right here is some sort of grammar thing. I like, this is so poorly written, I cannot even tell what's going on here. We are maximized? Don't you mean we have maximized the cast and recast times of several Dispel mechanics? So what they meant to say here, guys, is that they made it so a couple of the purges that the bosses do to you, you know how you are fighting God and you lose your buff, they changed it. It doesn't happen as often, and they cannot purge your world bosses anymore, which was a huge thing. You know, your world boss that you cannot get in the middle of the raid. Gar could actually remove them, so they cannot do that anymore. That's pretty cool. It is a huge problem if you're Horde. If you're Alliance and you think that's not a big deal, that's because you don't have Spirit of the Alpha, okay? Because these little boys can dispel your Spirit of the Alpha, and that can easily mean you're gonna lose aggro if you're not careful. Because of course the Shamans take 20 minutes to realize after saying Alpha, 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 Alpha. It takes 20 minutes for them to be like, oh, that probably means I gotta Alpha the tank, huh? I don't know, I think I need a couple more minutes to find this out. I swear bro, it's no fun. So what you can see right here, aside from the DPS in Baron Geddon, which I guess you could argue for it makes sense, they are trying to really attack the requirement of being coordinated and well organized in hit level 1. That's the whole goal with these changes. They wanna make it so anybody that can be level 60 can go to hit level 1. I think that's fine, okay? Because for a lot of people, farming a bunch of fire resistance is not something they wanna do. Especially by the time ults come around and people really are not gonna wanna farm fire resistance for ults. That's gonna be like a whole nother can of worms. So being able to get like a super easy to pog raid for people to farm their tier 1 so they can get ahead in their fire resistance, I think that's a good idea. Now there is one other nerf that happened to Molten Core and people are not really talking about this. This is for Sulfuron. Now, I don't think many people wipe on Sulfuron, he's a super easy boss, but they did nerf it for pretty much every hit level. It turns out people could actually line of sight the mobs. I do not remember anybody doing it in Classic. I think this is a sword only bug, so they fixed it anyway. But here, they changed the cooldown and the cast time of Dark Mending so people can interrupt it easier. They made the spell slower and less often. That's what it means. Now, I don't think that should have been the case, honestly. I guess it hurts some classes that do not have very good compositions. This is a weird change, honestly. I guess they wanna make it so you don't need a certain amount of interrupts in the raid to work. But even there, the punishment for missing a Dark Mending is not that big. It's just they get more HP a little bit. It's not like a raid wiping mechanic if you mess it up. But either way, this shouldn't be a big change for either one. If they make it this easier. I don't think anybody is looking at Molten Core and saying Sulfuron is a very hard boss. I don't think anybody gets stuck at Sulfuron ever. So that's a pretty meh change. I don't know, if I wanted to make Molten Core easy, I would probably go and nerf something like Shashra. I see a lot of people wiping on Shashra. I see a lot of people wiping on Gehennas actually, believe it or not. Actually, let's take a look at that. Can we take a look at that? Wow, that is really weird. All the wipes are not in here. Kill percentage is not a thing in Classic anymore. I don't know if it's an issue with Warcraft logs or what the hell is going on. It was working just fine in Cataclysm. Gee, I guess we'll never know. Subscribe, join the Discord, and thank you for watching.